Hello there, everyone. How you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/entitled people, where people are very entitled, and a teacher targets a student, and the student doesn't know why. If you enjoy, remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And now, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? For our first story, we've got When Family Time Becomes Free IT Work on Christmas. Hi, all. First time poster here. This actually happened a couple of years ago. A bit of context first. I'm a software engineer in a family of people who aren't very tech savvy, so I usually end up helping them with their computers, smartphones, and other gadgets. We used to spend Christmas at my uncle's and aunt's house, and in recent years, the trend was that people would give phones or computers to their loved ones, and I would be the one expected to set them up on Christmas Day. At first, I didn't mind, it was usually a quick task. But one year, my uncle asked me to move his entire desktop and an office setup from one room to another, set up new cables, and update all his software and operating systems. This annoyed me because everyone else was enjoying Christmas, I was basically working. The next year, I decided to spend Christmas with my new girlfriend. We had just started dating, things were going well, and honestly, I didn't want to be a free family IT guy again. At some point that day, I got a phone call from my cousin. He didn't greet me or even wish me a Merry Christmas, he just straight up asked why I wasn't at the family lunch. I told him I was spending the day with my girlfriend and wouldn't be joining them this year. In an annoyed voice, he replied, "But we need you. I just brought two new PCs for my daughters and you have to set them up." That really pissed me off, but I kept my cool. I just said, "Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too," and hung up. He never called me again after that, and I haven't joined them for Christmas since, because I honestly don't want to work for free anymore. On to our next story. Your dog exists for my child's amusement. This sub is so fun. This happened a while ago, but I'm enjoying this sub so much I'd like to share one. I walked my mom's elderly, mostly blind and deaf dachshund to a park and sat down at a table while holding his leash. He had very little energy, he's passed away now, and the leash is mainly to show him which direction to walk. The park was mostly empty except for two moms talking and their two toddlers in the playground, each about 30 feet from me. Suddenly, I hear this high pitched, long persistent shriek, and a toddler is running full bore towards my mom's dog, with hands out ahead. The dog is already getting agitated, looking around him to see what's making that ungodly noise. He can't see much, as I said. I stand up to get in front of the dog with my hands out to block the onslaught, and call out that he's friendly, but blinding needs a slow approach, otherwise he could get afraid and bite. The toddler looks shocked that I've come between her and her plaything, and goes full tantrum mode, trying to get around me to the dog. I expect the mother to step in and give the child a obligatory ask before touching a dog, hold out your hand and move slowly talk. But she doesn't. She sits there scowling at me and finally gets up and stomps over as if I'm the problem. While she's calming, encouraging her kid's meltdown, I hear her repeat several times in my direction and to her friend, "Why'd you bring a dog to the park if you don't expect kids to play with it?" What the frick? He's not a tricycle. Oh, but when I say, "Why would you bring a kid to a park and not let me play with it?" I get the freaking cops called on me. Wow. Jokes aside, that is a totally abhorrent situation. I hope you dealt with it and the dog had a good day afterwards. I'm sorry to hear he passed away. My aunt invited me to her son's birthday, but I was the entertainment. A week ago, my aunt invited me to her little cousin's birthday. I assumed it was a casual family get-together, so I showed up with a gift. 15 minutes in, she pulls me aside and says, "Okay, you'll start the face painting at 1:30, then make some balloons into animals like dogs and so on." I literally laughed, thinking she was joking. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. She told the other parents I was a party entertainer because I used to be artistic in high school. No warning, no offer to pay, just expected me to work the party like it was my job. When I said no, she called me ungrateful and said I ruined her son's special day. I still can't decide what's worse, her entitlement, or the fact that one mom legit asked me to do a clown. For real though, your aunt is insane, but there is an update to this story, so let's go ahead and read it. Update. My aunt invited me to her son's birthday, but I was the entertainment. Update. So it's been a few days since the birthday celebration and things got weirder. My aunt has been telling the whole family that I refused to help out of the party out of nowhere, like I backed out of some formal contract. My mom called me and was like, "Did you really leave them without entertainment?" I had to explain that I was never booked, I was just invited. And then I found out she posted a passive-aggressive Facebook status. "Some people just don't understand the meaning of family or sacrifice anymore. SMH. The best part, my cousin apparently asked if I was mad at him because I didn't do the balloon animals. So I had to reassure a 6-year-old that I wasn't mad at him. I just wasn't hired to perform at his birthday like a magician on Craigslist. The aunt still hasn't apologized, but guess who just invited someone else to her daughter's party next month? Not me. I guess they're hiring an actual entertainer this time. Little bit of growth there, I guess. It sounds like there was already a clown there, so don't feel too bad, OP. Now on to the next story. Entitled landlady thinks she owns my life because I rent a room. Not a request for advice, just here to drop my story of surviving 1 year in the house of an entitled landlady from hell. My last subreddit post that I need to vent this. Imagine paying rent for a single room, having no kitchen access, sharing a bathroom with strangers, and being treated like a child. That was my life. The setup, 7 people in the house including the landlady, all from the same cultural background, which made her think that she had some extra family authority or something. I just rent a room, shared bathrooms, no private kitchens, and not a say in anything. Oh, and she regularly rents out rooms on AXXX, which messes up everything. All roommates, yes all, are finally moving out next month. Number 1, your rent includes a meal equals you can't use the kitchen. There were 2 fridges, completely filled out with her stuff. She banned us from bringing our own kitchen appliances or even cooking. She once stole my roommate's steak, cooked it for herself, and a few others without asking. I've had food stolen too, multiple times. I'm on a strict diet due to health reasons. I even have food allergies. I explain this repeatedly. She still mixed contamination kitchenware, and I got violently sick. She didn't care. She felt sorry, but I paid my own medical bill. My house, my rules equals no privacy. She enters rooms without knocking. Claims since it's her house she can go anywhere she wants. She cleaned my room without permission, moved things around like that's just normal apparently, and another roommate had a BB gun collection and made it clear, do not touch it. And guess what? She did anyways. She also kept asking where I was going, when I'd be back, and who I was with. It got weird fast. I stopped answering, and that led to gossip and pettiness behind my back. Daily guests get more respect than the tenants do. She rents out rooms on a daily rate, and every time there's a guest, we have to switch bathrooms. I've waited almost an hour to shower before because she gave the good bathroom to strangers. It's beyond disrespectful. We pay monthly rent, and they pay per night, and guess who she prioritizes? There's a body shaming and a god complex. She once told my roommate he wouldn't survive without her. She commented on my clothes and body type, suggesting I shouldn't dress a certain way. I told her I'm fine with how I look, but she kept pushing. She thinks she's always right, talks over everyone, and refuses to acknowledge she might be in the wrong. Laundry equals the Hunger Games. I suggested a fixed laundry schedule to make life easier for all 7 of us. Her answer, "You should adjust because others have their rhythm." She would always cut the line, run the machine non-stop, and when it broke she blamed everyone but herself, and I had to start going to the laundromat to avoid conflict. And why we stayed for far too long. At first, we tolerated it. We were used to it. We avoided drama. But eventually, we all reached our limit. We compared stories and realized, it's not us, it's her. We're all finally getting out. And yes, we deserve a standing ovation for lasting this long. If you've ever lived with someone who thinks renting a room gives them full control over your life, solidarity, you're not alone. You better be prepared to demand your security deposit back or take her to small claims court, because I have a feeling that's going to be an issue. I wish you the best of luck, OP. And now for a final story of the day. My teacher targeted me, and I don't know why. Since this does not necessarily fall into the criteria of the typical entitled Karen stories, I'm not overly sure that my story or stories belong here. I'm gonna post it anyway since my teacher, though, I did not know the term Karen at the time, fit the picture of nosy, bossy, obnoxious, and loud mid-50s lady. I was about in year 3, which means I was about 7 when this all started. My teacher would hound me constantly, blame me for disruptions and rolling my eyes, among other crimes, despite me being the one who would attempt to be obedient and kind to her. For the sake of brevity, I'll keep this post centered around 3 situations which I have never forgotten despite this being years ago. Situation 1 is cold lunch situation, situation 2 is broken glasses, and situation 3 is braided hair. One night, myself, my mother of 2, and my brothers and my father had eaten a delicious meal prepared by my mother. It was a sort of pasta bake that I'd particularly enjoyed. My brothers always took leftovers to school with them, since the elder of them was year 12 at the time and had a microwave in his senior room. It's a small town and a small school, which they could use to heat their meals. I, being the annoying little sister, decided that I would copy them and bring in leftovers instead of making myself a sandwich the next morning. I asked my mom about it, and she told me that it wouldn't be possible since she was going away for training the next day, and wouldn't be able to heat it up for me. My brother, the older one, offered to do it instead and told me to simply get my teacher's permission and go see him when lunch break happened, so she'd know where I was. I, of course, leapt at the opportunity to go visit my brother during school and see his big kid room. My youngest brother, who was 6 years older than me, seemed to somehow know exactly what would happen tomorrow, because he smirked at me and said, "Make sure you don't forget, pasta bake is a horribly disgusting when it's cold." In hindsight, he was probably just messing with me, but I took it seriously. I skipped breakfast that day because I believed I had a big meal waiting for me come midday. The next day comes and lunch break arrives. Everyone goes gets their bags retrieved by food, then returns to the classroom to eat under our teacher's supervision. They would only be allowed outside to play after they finished their food. I put my hand up and asked my teacher if I can go see my brother in the senior room so he could heat my lunch for me, and tell her I'll come right back. She looks at me with what I now know is probably contempt or disgust and waves me off, saying I couldn't go. When I asked her why, she told me that it was unfair for me to have a brother who could do this for me when the other kids didn't. I might have accepted this reasoning now that I'm older if it weren't for the fact that this lady used the staff room toasty machine and ingredients bought by the school to make her children's sandwiches. I, of course, told her my meal would be inedible if it wasn't heated, but she waved me off again and told me it wasn't her problem. I ended up putting my container back in the bag while I waited for my friends to finish eating so we could go outside, and I could go straight to my brother's classroom anyway. But no, she ended up following me around the entire break, so I tried to hide the container I was holding, but I knew she saw when she was caught when she started glaring daggers at me and daring me to try. To a 7-year-old, this was quite upsetting, so I ended up not eating anything that day. I remember waiting by the car for my siblings and mother after school so we could go home. My year 12 brother showed up first and asked me where I'd been and if someone else had heated my meal. I told him what had happened and watched as he turned red and basically started boiling in front of me. He seethed until my other brother and my mom showed up and immediately began yelling at her about how this witch had made me go hungry because I had the privilege of having an older brother, as if that was somehow my fault, and that she had targeted me for long enough. He wanted to go have a chat with her, but my mom, being her calm self, told him she'd talk with my teacher herself. It got worse for a while after that. I'd once had a friend who was quite close to me, and who I could play with, when being around the other girls stressed me out. I was on the swings one day when him and another girl who was 2 classes above us. She'd taken his classes from him and they were mucking around at first, but when he visibly became distressed, I quietly suggested that she give them back. She ignored me and kept attempting to make me join in with the game. I perhaps should have intervened sooner, but I had a habit back then of just staying out of other people's situations. She ended up throwing the glasses at me and causing me to fumble while trying not to drop them. I failed and picked them up so I could give them back to him. He snatched them from me, which I thought was understandable, and checked them for damage. One of the lenses had popped out of the frame, and I was obviously very upset and angry. When we returned to class, my teacher asked both of them what had happened, pointedly ignoring me, and they gave their sides of the stories. I was surprised and upset when my friend told her that he ended up having to take them from me, and that was when he noticed the missing lens. She immediately turned on me and sent me to the buddy class. For those of you who don't know, this is when you go to another classroom and sit in the corner so that the older kids could see how bad and immature you were. I tried to say what really happened, but she cut me off and stated that since the glasses were in my possession when they broke, that I was the one, not the other girl, to blame for the damage, and therefore the one who needed to be punished. Since I knew I did nothing wrong, I ended up standing outside the classroom for half an hour, because I decided I was not going to be humiliated for something I didn't do. Perhaps the most petty story I can remember was this one. I'd come to school that day with my hair down. My mom said it looked pretty and wanted to do it for her, but according to my teacher, this was unacceptable. We were sitting on the floor so that she could do one of those story time things when she notices my hair touching the floor behind my back. She told me that it was too long and I might spread lice. I didn't have lice. To the other kids. She told me that I should braid it and that I would be fine, because that's how head lice work. I did as she said and braided my hair as best I could. Not long after, she told me that it was too loose and that I needed to do it again. I undid my hair and tried again, being really thorough. But apparently that wasn't good enough, and she accused me of trying to be smart with her. She told the SSO worker in the room, a kind lady, to take me outside and do it herself. When I came back in, my hair was still too loose, and she sent us outside to DOD to do it again. She ended up doing it so tight that I had a headache by the end of the day. This was fine, and she continued on with the story, wasting like 20 minutes on making sure my hair wasn't bloody loose. I sat down and attempted to forget about it and enjoy the story when another one of my classmates walked in. She'd been at the doctor's, so she'd come in late. Her parents were close friends with the teacher, and so even though her hair, which was nearly just as long as mine, was undone and down, the teacher said nothing. After the year was over, I was happy and looking forward to the next year when I would change teachers. I cried when we got the letter. I suffered yet another year with her, and it was worse than the last, and she was more consistent with her pickiness. But these teachers' particular stories have always stuck with me for some reason. She's gone now. The principal got rid of her due to how many students had left. Not me, because of her. I never even received an explanation as to why it was me she hated the most. Wow, some people really shouldn't be teachers. I don't know, maybe they should do an apprenticeship for 1 full year and only pass when all the kids approve of her or him. Too many people seem to go into education because it's easy and get their summers off. Thank you all for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. I will see you all next time. Bye bye.